Alright, so in this discussion we're talking mostly about pages like 100 to 200, that's what we read. And in this it started out where Dante was in the 7th circle, where he was in like the section of violence, and then it led him to the 6th Bolgia of the 8th circle. And in between they ran mostly unopposed, besides the demons who chased them into the 6th. But other than that, they passed through like the violent suiciders and usurers, and then like the different Bolgias in Circle 8. So my first question was, I said, as Dante travels farther into hell, does he seem to be experiencing any changes, like mostly spiritual or mentally or something like that? If he does, are they better or for worse? Just like keeping in mind that this whole adventure was brought about because he was losing his way and wants to probably change to find it again.
I mean, I think as far as spiritual guidance, you know, he did fall off a wrong path. So seeing all these things that happen to all these people that do bad things is probably going to affect him and say, oh, this is why I don't want to continue on this path of darkness.
It's going to like intimidate him from, you know what I mean, continuing to be weak in his faith. And I think that's what the whole point of the journey is, to hopefully be more successful in this faith, I suppose.
Yeah, he's also become mentally like more brave or uptight, I guess. Where they're marching through everything. He's having no problems now. He's talking to everybody. And
at the beginning, he was like fearful of people, or of demons.
But there was one point, I think it was at the beginning of when the fortune tellers and diviners, he did break down at that point when the people's heads were backwards and they were crying.
Yes.
He did break down then, and I think that's just kind of, I think that's his character, just being too
compassionate.
sympathetic. Yeah,
and
compassionate and sympathetic.
One of the parts of the epics, like the whole epic kind of like theme or whatever goes along with all of them, is like still having a hero that has some kind of feelings. You know what I mean? He's not just this like brute force, like no emotions person or emotional person. He still has that compassion and still knows that he's human, and I think that's an important part as well, to realize that he is human going through through hell, literally.
Right.
And I think that shows that you almost forget that he's just this human traveling through, but then that reminds you again that he is entirely different than everyone there.
Yeah, it like, because when you were like a little kid or stuff like that, your character changed almost, and even through like high school and stuff like that, freshman year to senior year, like your ideals have changed. You've become it's really that's the comparison. But like freshman year, you probably started out like Dante, and you were very fearful, and you didn't know what the heck was gonna happen. Yeah. And going on to senior year, he becomes more confident within himself, and he has his meltdowns. I guess you can compare that to missing your homework assignment. And
yeah.
I don't know. We've all been there. Yeah, and I've had a couple meltdowns. But like, there's something. It's very easy to forget that Dante is, in a way, human.
In a strong way.
Yeah.
Alright. So, like, kind of building off of that, I guess, was something I was thinking about when I was reading. There's a variety, or there's a difference in like some of the souls where some of them were enraged or like angry at Dante for being down there because he's living, and like they not curse but like they prophesize against it, like bring about or tell bad things to come. But then there were others who were joyous or like happy, elated to see him. Like you had the group at the desert of burning sand, the group that talked to him, especially because they were like from Florence. But then like the the hypocrites with lead cloaks, they were just happy to talk to him. So like my questioning was, is the difference in attitude more based on who they were in the past or what circle of hell they're in right now? Because I mean, I think either of those can change their perception.
So I just kind of came up with this right here, looking at this map. It almost seems like the ones that were like more welcoming to Dante, maybe, were the ones that don't get punished anymore when they, like, some of them, like, the fire, or the temperature of the fire increases as they go, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And others, you know what I mean? Different things, like, they, like, continuously, like, are bitten and have to become other things, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas, like, laying in the burning desert or whatever, they're just there, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and the people in the lead cloaks are just there walking, you know what I mean? So it's almost, they're not, really, I just said, you know what I mean, like 6 times. They're just continuously, they're not changing, and I think that has to do with how they acted on Earth. That's their punishment, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I didn't make that connection.
And it almost like connects back to how they're treating Dante, and I think that will have some kind of effect on that as well.
Alright. I guess that kind of answers that if it works. That was cool. Then, like, the last thing I was really wondering about, further in the story, there have been points where it almost like contradicts who Virgil is. Like, he's always the same, like, hero, mentor, personality, but at some points he seems more spiritual. Like at the point when they're stepping on the boat and he doesn't like push into the water, Dante does, because he's obviously a living human. And when they're on the rocky path and Dante's about to give out, and he's like, be careful where you're stepping. You don't want to move, or you don't want to knock anything over. But it's Virgil's steps are light and have no change, as opposed to when he's physically carrying Dante up and down a cliff, or when they're running from the demon and stuff like that. So at some points he seems more spirit, and at some points he seems more human. And I don't know if there's like a mix, if there's symbolism there.
I don't know. I think I made this connection when they were talking about going up and down the cliff, when Dante wanted to see, I forget what circle that was in, but it almost, the way he was writing it made Virgil seem almost like comparing him to Jesus, almost. And so comparing, like, when he's more spirit, more spirit, so maybe he's more
like divine,
and then you've got the more human, which is
more relatable.
Where in the case of like Christianity, Jesus is both.
Well, yeah, so he's like relatable to the person, and he also seems to have like a higher divinity.
And I think that might be like a big part of religion in like the beginning, when there's like that spiritual assistance, you know what I mean? But then there's also like human interaction in religion anyways, you know what I mean? With like different groups that are religious on earth, and then they always go and say God's gonna help. So like Virgil's almost like the spirit as well as like the actual human that's in the assistive manner, I suppose.
Yeah, I just made that connection.
Yeah, that's good.
I don't know, I've always viewed him as more of a spirit, but again, when I look at someone like Jesus or something like that, I view him as a spirit as well, like as someone who has like a divine power.
Right.
And
so it's a human that's just
or maybe they're just kind of, they have
human
traits and characteristics of a human.
Yeah. And I feel like Virgil in the book kind of rides like a finer line than Jesus does in the Bible, and like, you know what I mean? It's he's almost, I feel like he's fluctuating back and forth more so than Jesus does in the Bible. I don't know, he seems more man with like godly powers, where Virgil's almost like he's floating, like always, except for sometimes, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just, he's kind of switching back and forth a little more than it seems.
And it also seemed like at the point when they met the demons, and he's like, all right, Dante, hide, I got this, I'll go ask them for passage. It's like, I don't know, in my mind when I was reading that, I was thinking, if he's a spirit like everybody else that the demons are holding in, they wouldn't have would either shoo him aside, even if he is a higher up, not power, but like
a less
yeah.
hell-worthy person or
Yeah,
spirit.
so it just kind of got me thinking, like, what was he and why did he have the influence that he does
I
as
think
well?
it could also be just, maybe it could be part of just Virgil's character, but it could also just be for the story, you know, the main point of the
You
story
have
is
to have those people that are in it to help.
the main point of the story is to show Dante's change, and if every once in a while maybe you just have to throw a curveball, like, oh, you can magically hold him now, you know,
Yeah.
then if that contributes to the story, I feel like it's okay.
But that almost, when we talk about like poetry and especially during the Renaissance when they like his whole life would go into a book or something like that, I feel like it's not. I feel like he has a reason for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's got to be more substantial than just like he just needed it to work, so it did. You know.
Yeah.
So I almost want to kind of lean more toward the side that Virgil's supposed to kind of represent something that is not human and is not spirit in itself, and he's fluctuating for reasons, and I feel like that has some kind of reason.
Well, this whole thing just kind of got me like rethinking the first like question that I was like, how has he changed? Like, he's obviously changed as a person, but I'm wondering, like, you take his initial starting point where he's off his path. We discussed that like last time, stuff like that, and you take where he's at now, and I'm trying to wonder how different he like how spiritually different he is, so that he would be on the right path. Besides realizing that, hey, I don't want to be here.
Yeah.
So is it
I mean,
like? Go ahead.
sorry, so he does like, I think at the beginning he did like was crying more sympathetic, and he does do that kind of towards the middle, but he also seems to like, I don't know, like the beginning of one of the chapters, I think it was 152, page 152, he like starts getting mad at these people almost, the people that are very like, that are still yelling at God or mad at God.
Still
like,
immune to his holiness, power, or
he's still, so he has got that strength now.
Alright.
That makes sense where he still sees himself as a human and them as these people that are sinners in hell or whatever.
Yeah. He's like, you know, he gets pretty mad at one of them. It's, I don't know, I found that humorous.
He doesn't view himself as like a sinner, and he puts himself on another level than compared to these people who are already in hell.
And that has to do with the
Rightfully
theme
so.
as well.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. And he's only going on his journey for a reason. They didn't get that journey. He obviously is thinking of himself as more kind of worthy than them.
But more special.
Well, granted, with just natural human nature, like, I don't necessarily, I put myself on a higher level than I would someone else, just because that's natural. That's
Yeah, in your mind you think
yeah,
of
in my
yourself
mind,
as above.
I'm better, like,
Yeah.
I'm better than you.
Jesus, Dom.
Out loud, I think of myself as better. I'm just
But
did you have something you were going to say?
I was wondering if you were done with your questions, because I could ask some of my questions.
Yeah, go ahead.
So these are just kind of things that I was thinking of as I was reading. And these are just kind of things that are kind of obscure. But does this almost kind of view as an allusion to Dante? Like, maybe something